Welcome back to JR Pro Shop Vids, everyone. Today we got the best spare shooter on the planet, Francois Lavoie, and today we're gonna walk you through every single pin spare across the lane and why we shoot them that way. So this year on tour, Frankie was 697 out of 704 single pins, 99.01% on single pins. Absolutely unbelievable. What happened on those 7?
Approach problems, probably.
So 99% single pins is absolutely incredible. Different bowling alleys every week, different oil patterns every week, so many different variables. And with that, the tour average is just over 95%. This is like a part 2 to the other spare shooting vid we did, multi-pin spares and splits, but this one is single pins. And if you really want to up your average, cash in more tournaments, win tournaments, single pin spares is what's gonna do that. As you can see, Frankie uses a mix from Storm, spare ball, dead straight at every single pin spare, even the 5-pin and the head pin. So let's get to the video. Let's see how he attacks each single pin across the lane, and let's make ourselves better spare shooters and better bowlers.
Hey everybody, Frankie here. We're gonna get into some spare shooting and I'll kind of talk you through what I think about my single pin spares. We're gonna start with the one that's probably the most common for a lot of right-handers, the 10-pin. If you're left-handed, just kind of flip everything I say. So for the 10-pin, I like to stand over here on 33 and I'll look at around 21. 33 is my starting position. Doesn't have to be 33, that's just what I like. And 21. Single pin spare shooting is pretty straightforward. You pick a target and all you have to do is hit the target. If you are lined up properly, everything goes well with your approach, and you hit your target, you're gonna make the spare. We're moving on to the 6-pin now. If you've already watched the other spare shooting video that I did, you might remember that I like to stand in the same spot for a lot of the right side spares, and I just move my target a little bit. The 6-pin, pretty close to the 10-pin, so I'm still standing on 33, but I'm gonna look a little bit closer to 22 now. Feet on 33, looking at 22. Let's move on to the 9-pin now. Probably guessed it. I'm gonna stand on 33 and I'm gonna move my eyes a little bit to the left, so closer to 23 for this one. Spare shooting in general, but especially single pins, is all about straight lines. So what I like to do is, when I set my feet on 33 in this case, I look at the pin that I'm aiming at, and then I draw an imaginary line back to, in this case, my target is 23, and I go. Now we have the 3-pin, still on the right side, so I'm still gonna set my feet on 33. Still looking around 23, maybe a little, like maybe in between 22 and 23, I guess. I know I mentioned this in the other video, but this is really the system that works for me. It's not necessarily right or wrong. A lot of spare shooting I find is about personal preference. So I like to keep my feet in the same spot and just move my target. So this is what I'm doing now, shooting the 3-pin, looking around 22, 23. Okay, that takes care of the spares on the right side. Now I'm gonna move on to the spares on the left side. So I've got a different starting position. For me, what feels comfortable for the left side spares and has felt comfortable for a little while is 25. So I'm standing on 25 now, and I'll look at around 26. This is what works for me. I like to keep my feet in the same spot and change my target. Now some people prefer to keep the same target and move their feet. That's perfectly fine. It's all about personal preference. Not bad, huh? Not bad. One question I get a lot when I talk about spare shooting is people ask me, if you're standing on 33 and you're going across lane for the right side spares, why don't you do the same thing and you stand all the way on the right for the left side spares? It's a good question, but for me personally, A lot of spare shooting is about comfort, and I just feel more comfortable keeping things a little bit more in front of me. If you think about most of the shots I throw as a right-handed bowler, most of the shots I throw, I mean strike shots here, they are going from left to right. And so everything I do in bowling goes from left to right. If I go all the way to the right, I have to kind of cross over my body and just force myself to do something that's unnatural, and then I don't do a whole lot. So I try to get a little bit more on the left side so that my arm can feel a little bit more like it's going in a straight line. I don't have to feel like I'm crossing over my body as much, and that feels more comfortable to me. Again, it's not necessarily right or wrong, it's just what I do. One caveat to that, I guess, something to keep in mind, if I was to move all the way on the left side, that would be good for what I'm talking about with my arm going in a straighter line and not having to cross over my body. The problem with that is a lot of the patterns are really dry as you get closer to the gutter, especially those house patterns. So if you do that, you run into the risk of even though it's a spare ball, you run into the risk of the ball sort of catching those dry boards that are really close to the gutter, and it might actually hook. Like that. So with all that being said, yes, I want to be able to keep my hand from crossing over my body too much, but at the same time, I don't want to go too far left. So for me, a spot that works well is 25. Usually there's going to be enough head oil there, and my angles are still going to be shallow enough to where this is a comfortable motion. Moving on to the 4-pin, another pretty common leave. After the 10-pin for a right-handed bowler, I would say the 7 and the 4 are probably the next two most common. So I'm still standing on 25, and I'm looking a little bit closer to 25 on this one. This one might sound a little weird, hearing that I'm standing on 25 and I'm looking at 25, but my ball isn't going straight up the lane, it's going a little bit to the left towards the 4-pin. That's just because I don't drift a whole lot, I walk pretty straight, and usually you release the ball a few boards right of where you slide, and so that allows me to hit 25 and make a spin. With single pin spare shooting, you really don't have to be perfect. Realistically, probably have a board on each side that you can still hit and you're still gonna make the spare. So now I've got the 8-pin, still on 25, and I'll look closer to, looks like 23 here. So with that in mind, this is not just for single pins, but for most spares, it's all about just keeping a loose arm swing, following through towards the target that I'm aiming at. That's what I'm trying to do here. That was a good hit, dead center. On to the 2-pin. In this case, because I'm standing on 25, it looks like the 2-pin and the 8-pin are pretty close to each other, so the target's about the same. I'll still look around 23 here. Different people struggle with different pins. A lot of right-handers will struggle with the 10-pin, left-handers will struggle with the 7-pin. There can also be some difficulty in shooting the 5-pin, especially if you've got your whole league putting their hand up after you've left it. In reality though, it's just the same as every other spare shot that we throw. This one though, I'm just gonna go straight down the middle with this. I'm still standing on 25, and I'm just looking at 20. Like I said, straight down the middle. So if you're ever feeling nervous about shooting a single pin spare, could be the 10-pin, the 7, the 4, the 5-pin in this case, just remember what we talked about. It's all about keeping a loose arm swing, following through towards your target, and I try to focus on hitting the target instead of making the spare. That's something that helps me. Because I know that if I'm lined up properly and all those things go right, if I hit my target, the result will be that I'll make the spare. There is one last pin that we haven't shot yet. And most people might think, well, why would you throw straight at the head pin? You just throw a strike shot. If you're leaving the head pin, that means you missed it on the first shot. So I don't understand why all those people think they're gonna hit it on the second shot. I have a lot of confidence in my spare game, so I like to throw straight at it. I'm gonna shoot it just for the sake of it, but it's gonna be exactly the same as the 5-pin, because I'm going straight up 20, and those pins are right in front of each other. It might sound silly, it might sound weird, especially if most of what you bowl on is a house pattern, but as you get into those tougher conditions, it sometimes isn't so easy to hook and hit the head pin. So for that reason, I like to go straight at the head pin, especially if the conditions are sport compliant or even a challenge pattern.
So we just got back from watching Frankie shoot a bunch of single pin spares. Didn't miss any, of course. What are your final thoughts, Frankie, about shooting single pins?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it a little bit. There's a couple key things for me. Keep a loose arm swing, follow through towards your target, and really the big one is focusing on hitting that target instead of focusing on trying to make the spare. If you hit your target and you're lined up properly, you're gonna make the spare. The target's 15 feet away, the pin is 60 feet away. It's a lot easier to hit something that's a lot closer to us. The other thing is just having a system that's reliable, that's simple, that you know you can repeat. That's going to take you a long way with all those spares. The simpler your system is, the easier it'll be to repeat. Actually, for me, it was a little tough to shoot this video because I had to think about where I'm actually looking at. This is so routine for me because I do it so much over and over again in the same spot, looking at the same target, and I just draw that line in my head. I had to think about where I'm actually looking because it's kind of second nature now. So if you want to get good at spares, you have to get something that's going to become second nature for you too.
So I noticed you don't switch your switch grip thumb from your strike ball to your spare ball. You have a designated thumb for your spare ball. Is there anything different about the grip in your spare ball versus your strike ball?
There is something that's a little bit different, maybe just a personal preference of mine. The pitches and everything like that are the same, so the ball is going to fit exactly the same in my hand, but I keep the thumb in my spare ball just a little bit looser than it is in my strike ball, because I really just want to get that ball off my hand. I don't want to do anything to it. I'm not trying to make it hook. So the thumb hole in my spare ball is just a touch looser, so that thumb stays in the spare ball, dedicated thumb for that spare ball all the time. And one more thing, I really don't wipe my spare ball a whole lot. I know some people do. I want the ball to go straight, so it really doesn't matter to me if there's oil on the ball. Those oil rings are just going to help the ball go even straighter. I do wipe the part of the ball that my palm sits in, so the fingers and the thumb. I'll kind of wipe that area to make sure that my hand is comfortable and there's no oil on that area. But as far as the rest of the ball, it can have oil on it. It doesn't bother me.
Thanks again to Frankie Lavoie, best spare shooter on the planet. Hopefully everybody learned something today. Increase your average, increase your amount of cashes in tournaments, increase the amount of money won, and become better bowlers.
Before we wrap up, question time. Do you know what your single pin spare percentage is? And if you don't, what do you think it might be? Let us know in the comments.
Thanks for watching, everyone. See you in the next video.